I'm Anne Riddell. Saving the planet one person at a time. We're celebrating the environment. Science and You starts right now.
I'm Donna Hanover. Buying light bulbs used to be so simple. Now it seems there are so many choices. We're here at the Good Housekeeping Research Institute to light the way. Ahead on Science and You.
I'm Anne Riddell. Are you looking to go green and save some money at the same time? We've got ideas for things you can do right in your own home. That's ahead on Science and You.
Did you know that you can turn your trash into soil? I am Marlene Peralta, and I'll tell you how ahead on Science and You.
Hi, I'm Ernabel DeMillo. Ever wonder what happens to all our garbage in New York City? Well, 80% of it ends up in landfills. Some of it's recycled and some reused. Well, coming up on Science and You, I'm going to introduce you to a group of musicians who are turning all our garbage into music.
I'm Magalie Laguerre-Wilkinson. Do you want to see who's dreaming up an improved model for the next big metropolis? That's coming up on Science and You.
I'm Tinabeth Pina. Future engineers compete in a solar decathlon to design a house that has it all. That's ahead on Science and You.
I'm Beth Kovetz in New York City's Metropolitan Pavilion in the middle of Fashion Week. Today, we're going to take a look at the eco-couture movement and a new, very green line of clothing. Ahead on Science and You.
I'm Anne Riddell. If you think that living a green lifestyle might not be cost effective, think again. There are lots of choices you can make that are good for the planet and your wallet. Take a look.
Prepare to be wowed when you step inside this townhouse. The space, the light, the cool factor. But what you may not immediately realize is how eco-friendly this home is as well. Interior designer Robin Barron explains.
I think that it's easier than ever to have a great lifestyle, still have a glamorous home, an elegant home, and be able to be eco-conscious, eco-friendly.
For example, mix in antiques, whether they're from a fancy shop or a flea market.
It's so much fun to take something that has a history to it and mix it in. And it gives you a great eclectic look from a design standpoint, but it's a way of recycling and using products so they don't just go to waste and go into the landfill.
And think twice about the materials and appliances in your home.
I chose the stainless steel backsplash in this kitchen because stainless steel is a highly recyclable material. 100% of it is recyclable. The other thing to look for in any company that's doing appliances is the Energy Star label.
Right.
That's a government-backed certification, and it just means it's energy efficient. Energy efficient means it's better for the environment, but it's also better on your pocketbook because you do save money on utility bills.
That's right. Green living isn't just better for the earth, it can save you money. We teamed up with Jessica DiDonato from Con Edison to learn more. One thing many of us don't think of, simply unplug.
Everything in this kitchen is plugged in, so everything that's plugged in is drawing energy, whether it's being used or not. The amount of money that you can save by just unplugging simple devices, it's not huge, but it's definitely something you can see in your monthly electric bill.
It adds up.
It definitely adds up.
Another potential savings area, heating and cooling your home. Make sure room air conditioners are properly insulated. Another suggestion, a programmable thermostat.
If you're sitting at work one day and you realize that you want your air conditioner to turn on at 6 o'clock, you can just log in online. It connects to this thermostat and will raise your air conditioner so that it's nice and cool when you get home.
But you haven't been running it all day.
Exactly. It hasn't been running all day. You haven't been using it all day, paying for it all day.
Some more quick tips from Con Ed. Shut off lights you're not using. Use compact fluorescent light bulbs. Seal drafty windows, doors, and holes around plumbing fixtures. Use the energy saving setting on your appliances. And think about paperless bank statements and online bill paying.
If everyone in the U.S. collectively signed up for some type of e-billing program, we'd save up to 18.5 million trees.
That's a lot of trees.
That's a lot of trees.
It's easy to think that as individuals we can't make much of a difference, but small changes can add up to big results, results that are earth-friendly, fashionable, and affordable. I'm Anne Riddell for Science and You.
I'm Donna Hanover. The light bulbs you choose for your home can save energy to help the planet and your pocketbook. But the choices are bewildering. Which CFLs or halogens or LEDs are right for you? The Good Housekeeping Research Institute has done experiments to illuminate your choices, literally. In a place renowned for testing everything from the newest vacuum cleaners to the toughest paper towels, Lightbulbs claimed center stage recently. Test engineer Eric Ibert says a desire by consumers to save energy and a change in the law fueled the Institute's efforts.
As of this year, 100-watt light bulbs are no longer being produced and sold in the U.S. The following year, it'll be 75-watt light bulbs, and the following 60 and 40. So by the end of 2014, you'll no longer be able to buy traditional incandescent light bulbs.
Whoa, so you have to make a choice.
Right.
The Institute tested 28 bulbs that fell into 3 categories.
What you're looking at here are CFL, halogen, and LED. Now, these aren't necessarily characteristic of the way all bulbs would be, but they'll give you a pretty good idea. We used what's called an energy meter to look at how much energy each light bulb was consuming.
The engineers also tested the lifespan of the bulbs using a light board that on one side kept them on all the time, but on the other side switched the bulbs on and off periodically to simulate being used in the real world. In addition, they tested the amount of light each bulb gave off with a light meter. The results?
CFLs are mid-priced, maybe $2 a bulb. They're almost as efficient as LEDs. And the main drawback that people complain about is that they take a long time to warm up, which means you have to wait about a minute for them to become fully bright.
Now, CFL stands for?
Compact fluorescent. So CFLs tend to have good light distribution, and depending on the bulb you buy, they can be warm or cool colored.
What is the twisty thing about it?
Well, for a compact fluorescent to put out as much light as an incandescent, it would have to be pretty long because it's not that bright. So a way of getting it all into a compact form is to spiral it like that. But if you don't like the look of a spiral CFL, you can get a covered CFL, which looks a lot more like an incandescent bulb. In the middle here, you see a halogen, which is going to look probably the most like what you're used to in an incandescent. Halogens don't last that much longer, and they're only marginally more efficient, but they're inexpensive. And here, what you see is one of our worst LEDs, actually, to show you an exaggerated case. LEDs have a hard time distributing light the same way that an incandescent does. So you'll see that a lot of the light is hitting the top of the
It's
the
directional
lamp.
instead of...
It's very directional, yep. And the industry has come a long way, so some of our recommendations are actually very good at distributing light, but you have to be careful of some of the bad ones. LEDs tend to be very expensive, but they have great efficiency, and they last pretty much for the rest of your life.
Senior test engineer Rachel Rothman is a big fan of CFLs.
Lighting takes up about 15% of your electricity bill, and you can save about 75% on your lighting just by switching to CFLs.
But, she cautions, disposal is a bit complicated.
So the CFLs do contain trace amounts of mercury, so if one were to break, you just want to be really careful about it. You should turn off your central air, you should open any windows, let the air come in, and leave the room for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then you can look at earth911.com, and it'll tell you different places in which you can dispose of them properly in your area.
As part of its tests, the Good Housekeeping Research Institute brought in a panel of consumers to give their opinion.
The halogens were really their favorite, and again, those are the most similar to what they're used to.
As for deciding which kind of bulb works for you aesthetically, wattage has been misleading since so much of that burns off in heat.
Instead, look at what are called lumens, which are the actual light output. And so in a 60-watt bulb, what you used to shop for as 60 watts is now about 800 lumens. The other thing is color temperature. It's measured on what's called a Kelvin scale. So you'll see a soft white is about a 2700 Kelvin bulb, a bright white bulb is about 35 to 4000, and a daylight bulb is about 6000, which will look really bluish white.
The Good Housekeeping engineers had some additional thoughts on saving energy in lighting. For one, dimmers reduce energy use, although CFLs require the installation of special dimmers, while halogens and LEDs will work with the ones you have.
Another viable option is to install motion sensors. So in rooms that have high traffic, like in your hallways or in your garage where you're constantly going and you may forget to turn the lights off, they can help you save money as well.
Luckily, scientists are working hard to create and test alternatives because the world is switching when it comes to switching on the lights. I'm Donna Hanover for Science and You.
I am Marlene Peralta. The Environmental Protection Agency estimates that one person produces an average of 3.5 pounds of garbage a day. Imagine 8 million New Yorkers throwing that amount of trash on a daily basis. The good news is that there is a way, an environmentally friendly method that people can use to reduce the amount of trash we send to landfills, a method called composting, or food cycling as it is being nicknamed.
Well, composting is really when you take organic waste and instead of throwing it in the garbage where it does not belong, you manage it to turn back into soil.
Although composting is a fairly new practice in New York, Christine Datz-Romero has been doing it for about 20 years. The idea started at a community garden on the Lower East Side.
We really wanted to turn this into a beautiful garden that you see here now, so that was our vision, but of course we had no money to buy soil, and so we said, well, we're going to make our own soil. After all, that's what we like to do. We like to recycle. So we started asking people to bring us their kitchen scraps, and so this garden really got its head start on kitchen scraps that we turned into compost.
She now has a composting center at the East River Park where she transforms trash into soil.
This is probably at least 10 days old, so it's not fresh, so it really doesn't have to smell. Again, what we really do here is like almost making lasagna, right? We have a layer of kitchen scraps, then a layer of the sawdust, what you see on top, layer of kitchen scraps, and so on. And when we do these bins, we really fill them to the top. But then through this process of composting, what really happens is that there's a volume reduction because there's really a lot of water in kitchen scraps. To make compost, what you really need is nitrogen-rich materials like the kitchen scraps that we are collecting, but really to balance off, you also need carbon source. So that's why we have all this sawdust sitting around. Again, it's another waste product. We go to carpentry shops to pick that up.
In 1994, her organization established a collection program where community members can drop off their kitchen scraps.
So this is really the process of bringing back what we collected at Union Square here at the Green Market, but of course in its transformed form. So this here is potting soil, which we make and we sell here, and we use our compost for it. And then the other product that we have, of course, is just a regular compost, which should be in this barrel. So we're completing the loop here. We collect the materials, and 3 months later we have this finished product here that we sell to people. And it raises awareness about our program.
If you want to put your garbage in a healthier and better use, visit nyc.gov for the list of composting project sites and organizations that offer free or low-cost composting workshops in New York City. For Science and You, I am Marlene Peralta.
Hi, I'm Ernabel DeMillo. We're at PS 102 in Brooklyn, where the students here are learning the 3 R's. I'm talking reduce, reuse, recycle. Hey, I think I hear the music starting. Let's go on in.
This isn't your typical concert. Take a closer look at the instruments. Hubcaps, old pipes, giant cardboard tubes, old refrigerator drawers. This is Bash the Trash, a group of wandering minstrels, if you will, whose message is quite simple: raising environmental awareness while making connections to science and music.
It's really the reusing message that we're really trying to get across to kids, and kind of One of our unspoken mottos in Bash the Trash is we see the world not as it is, but as what it could be. And so it goes all the way down to little pieces of trash, something that you're about to throw away is, could this be something else instead of just throwing it away? What you gonna do with all that trash? I'm gonna bash the trash.
Today, Hetherington and his crew are performing at PS 102 in Brooklyn, where the kids enjoying watching the performers turn trash into a symphony of sound. Who knew that styrofoam packaging could sound like that? A clever invention from the mind of Rowan Khomeini.
This is what we call the Styrolin. This is actually my, contribution to Bash the Trash. I invented it, you could say. There wasn't a Styrolin in the group until I decided to make use of this styrofoam box. And so it's literally found objects, and most of these things are things that arrived in my mailbox. I've got a piece of old jeans fabric for the chin rest, a chunk of wood for the bridge, and this is actually a real violin string.
Let's hear you play. So obviously you're also a trained violinist, right?
Yes. Yeah, I grew up playing violin and then switched to drums, and now I play both, you could say.
Now you play garbage.
I play garbage, exactly. So.
Khomeini and his crew are all trained jazz musicians. As musicians, they understand the science behind the sounds. For instance, what happens when you hit an old pipe like this? Sounds a little dull, but add styrofoam, yes, another use for styrofoam, and you get this. The kids also learned how water can change the properties of sound.
Is the sound changing? Is it getting higher or lower?
It's literally science, music, and recycling in a bottle.
Especially when we work with the older kids, we can get more into the science element and talk more details about the science of the sound and about recycling.
And the kids seem to be getting the message.
I learned that you don't have to just throw the trash away. You could really just use it for things. Even if you think that an old milk jug or a cereal box, you could just throw them away and use them once. You can use them twice, 3 times, or even 4 times by reusing them and cutting them up to make all sorts of entertaining things like instruments, like Bash the Trash.
What are some of the things that you reuse?
Well, sometimes out of a cardboard box, I use some glitter and I pretend it's a race car, and I put my cat inside of it and I pretend he's my little assistant.
Add a little imagination and trash can go a long way before ending up in the landfill.
Reduce, reuse, recycle!
So next time you think about throwing one of these plastic bottles away, you may want to think twice. Hey, you never know, one of these may one day help you win a Grammy. I'm Ernabel DeMillo for Science and You.
I'm Magalie Laguerre-Wilkinson. Here at the Islip Middle School on Long Island, students are working hard, working on a future city that will meet both our energy needs and keep the planet clean.
Future City is one of the options that I make available to my 7th and 8th grade students. It's a competition. It's an engineering competition which is interdisciplinary. It incorporates everything from literacy and research to public speaking skills.
Sponsored by the National Engineers Week Foundation, the Future City competition asks middle school students across the country to design a more efficient metropolis of tomorrow. Teams compete on a regional level for the chance to present their cities in the nation's capital, with a $5,000 prize and a trip to space camp on the line. This year's theme? Energy efficiency and environmental preservation. These students chose to transform a small city in Namibia.
Well, we were researching online and we were looking for an undeveloped area. So we found Walvis Bay and we started researching, and we found out that they were building a coal power plant, and we know that it's not renewable and it pollutes tremendously. So that's where we got our idea from. We wanted to fix that and make it better.
Emphasizing energy efficiency, teams were held to a budget of just $100. With that, creativity became key. What were once egg cartons, empty bottles, and telephone cords now evolved into the foundations for an alternative city plan.
Well, we started collecting a lot of recyclable materials at first, the whole summer.
Did you ever think, oh my gosh, what have we gotten ourselves into? This is complicated.
Yeah, first, yeah, it was really messy, but it comes together.
Future City is one of the most demanding, time-wise, competitions that I run. So starting in September, every single day since the first day of school, these students have given up their lunch period to work on their project.
But it's fine because my teacher orders us pizza, so as long as we eat, I can work all day.
And their hard work really showed when the team rehearsed their presentation just a week before the regional competition.
Engineers have developed a completely new energy source in Coast Barre, Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion, or OTEC.
Open cycle ocean thermal energy conversion works by taking in the warm seawater and flash evaporating it into a vacuum chamber to produce steam. Some of the steam is taken to a tank where the vapor condenses to desalinated water.
If you want a taste of paradise, come and enjoy our fresh Coast Barre air, where living is unlike any other place on earth.
Looking for a location to relax and lay low? I tell you, Coast Barre Ocean is the place to go.
And remember,
blue is the new green.
At the regional competition at the Sony Wonder Technology Lab in Manhattan, middle schools from across the New York metropolitan area had their best city model and most innovative energy proposals on display. But in the end, it was the hard work of the Islip Middle School team which ultimately impressed the judges, stamping their ticket to Washington, D.C. and the national finals. And while the Islip students would not walk away from Washington with a trophy, they would walk away with a greater appreciation for their own scientific potentials.
Well, it's just a competition. It's for fun, to learn things, so I don't think that's the point.
Has this changed your outlook on science, on engineering, on the future, on what your profession might be as adults?
I never thought about being an engineer, but ever since I joined the competition, it's been making me think. I really like what we've been doing lately, so.
And yeah, same here. Science and engineering have never been my priority, but after this whole thing, it's more interesting.
This future city design is not science fiction. In fact, it's a glimpse into what other cities like New York might look like in the future. I'm Magalie Laguerre-Wilkinson on Long Island for Science and You.
Harnessing the power of the sun was the goal for a group of City College engineering and architecture students for a prestigious competition to design and build a fully functioning solar-powered home. CUNY's Team New York kept their eyes on the skies. Students from universities across the globe gathered in Orlando early last year to preview competitive designs entered into the Department of Energy's 2011 Solar Decathlon. Being New Yorkers, the CUNY team had little interest in building yet another solar house on the prairie, but rather one that would be right at home in an urban landscape. Their solution? The solar roof pod. The concept required a melding together of sound engineering and architecture with amenities that would offer real-world practicality. Throughout the summer of 2011, the CUNY team designed, constructed, and tested the house on the rooftop of a CUNY campus building. To do this right, CUNY team members had to learn their way around wood and metal shops because everything designed for the 850-square-foot house would be measured, cut, and joined together by the students themselves. The pod would use lightweight, efficient materials with photovoltaic technology powering the lights and appliances, while solar thermal collectors supply hot water and power the air conditioning system. Under professional and faculty guidance, Team New York ran the energy systems through a series of tests to adjust and maximize their efficiency. The design also featured smart windows that use prism technology to maximize daylight, potentially adding to the energy the house can generate for the larger building on which it sits. Designing an efficient, affordable, and attractive home was the goal of CUNY's future engineers who would strive for their place in the sun in a solar showdown. In the fall of 2011, the modular house was ready. The student scientists who built it would watch a painstaking disassembly. Everything they designed and built by hand would be taken apart, carefully packed, and secured to a flatbed truck for the journey south. Its destination? Washington, D.C. The journey of Team New York to our nation's capital was filled with a giddy excitement. Months of hard work, experimentation, Long days and short nights, where even a few hours sleep was a welcomed comfort, would coalesce into a dream realized. In October, that dream would face the sun here on the National Mall.
It's great to be here in DC. We're all working hard, we're all working together. We have our ups and downs, but we're making it through one day at a time.
Nothing is more inspiring and fulfilling than when a group of students work together as a team with a common goal to achieve something, to compete and win, where they push themselves to the limit, challenge each other, exceed their expectations, and innovate in ways that just surprise you, pleasantly surprise you.
So we're educating students, we're educating builders, and we're educating the general public all about sustainability, energy efficiency, and renewable energy.
A lesson learned about using our natural resources in the most efficient way. The many hands on CUNY's Team New York will most likely be involved in creating this brighter and greener future. I'm Tinabeth Pina for Science and You.
I'm Beth Kovetz. In our consumer culture, every little green bit counts. And now, even the clothing industry is discovering just how fashionable green can be. More and more designers are exploring sustainable, ethical, and environmentally conscious products. Today we're going to chat with sustainable designer Arliss and look at her new urban tropical line. Her slogan is an eco-venture, one garment at a time. What was the thought behind that?
I call it an eco-venture because it's an adventure every day on learning how can we do this better, how can we be more sustainable, how can we improve the way that we've been doing things, how you want to run your business, and how big of an impact you want it to have on the planet or not. I use only natural materials or dead stock from factories. Most of my fabrics are either organic cotton, hemp, and soy. The factory is going to throw away like 100 yards of a beautiful fabric and it's going to end up in a landfill, then I'll just buy it from them and it'll be in my collection, so that way it gets used. I try to be as local as possible. Local, it's a paradox for me because I'm from Puerto Rico, so I try to be local there and I try to be local here, but at the same time I try to marry it all together.
How are you trying to meld the consumer-oriented nature of fashion with the conservative works of the green movement?
Well, that's actually one of the biggest challenges for sustainable design, because it's like, well, you really don't need 50 or 60 pairs of pants in your closet because you can only wear one pant at a time. But at the same time, I think that there needs to be a big re-education process in like a consumer point of view. Like, you know, your $5 pants from like the mass-produced place in China, yeah, they're cheaper, but they don't cost the planet $5. They cost the planet a lot more than that. So maybe it's better to spend a little bit more money and buy less. We're seeing a shift in consumers. People want to know where their things come from, what they buy, how they spend their money, they vote with their dollars, and they're increasingly becoming more and more educated about the history from like the mill or like the cotton plant to the t-shirt that you're wearing. So I think it is important to be transparent in the whole process, and I think this whole, you know, eco-couture movement, it's about that. It's about transparency, it's about information, it's about education. And I think that's very exciting, and people are really catching on to it, and I am happy that I can be part of it.
This has been Beth Kovetz for Science and You.
That's our show. Thanks for watching. I'm Anne Riddell. We'll see you next time on Science and You.